of, the electorate. Issue 3, I think, is a very emotional issue for many, particularly because of the individual mandate concerns, and whether or not that translates into a right-to-work initiative. I don't think it'd be clear. I mean, you take a look at just the votes. Issue 2, was like 62%, and issue, against, and then issue 3 was the mirror opposite. And you would think that those two would be diametrically opposed. So how do those same people go and repeal Senate Bill 5 and at the same time, vote to basically repeal the Affordable Care Act in Ohio?
And I think we're making some assumptions.
Yeah.
We assume that the same people who voted strongly to repeal Senate Bill 5 are indeed the same people who voted, to support issue 3. They might not necessarily be the same pockets of people, even though the percentages are high. So we can't speculate on the voters' will, but voters might not necessarily see those two as the same or even connected to one another.
This is going to be the Right to Work initiative is going to have the name, the word freedom. It's going to be the Ohio Workplace Freedom Amendment. Mm-hmm. And it's going to have the word freedom in it, much like issue 3 had.
Right, freedom of health care choice.
Right,
yeah.
right. And it's not going to say right to work bill or union bill or whatever. At least, that's the way it's being phrased in the early running. Does that concern you?
I think that, it's up to them how they want to frame it. It's certainly their right. And I think that, both proponents and opponents of the content, it's their responsibility to convey, the nuances of the content. It's certainly, within the purview and the right of the people running the campaign for this right to work to put it however they want to put it. But it's certainly, the burden is on, the opponents as well to, delineate what they believe the content of that is. So, I mean, I think it's a process of voter education, and, both proponents and opponents share that burden.
What is your opinion of right to work?
I'm opposed to it.
Why?
Why? Because, I mean, look at what it's done in other states. I mean, again, we in the state of Ohio, and so many of our, the strength of our nation was built on the ability to to have the ability to organize, and everything that goes along with that. And so, to me, people should have that option. Okay. So when you talk about freedom, okay, the freedom right to workplace, thing. When you're a right to work state, you ultimately, in my humble opinion, are taking away the freedom of the workers to organize. And so it should be their choice whether they want to or not. And, in that regard, particularly with a constitutional amendment, taking away a right is never a good thing. You don't want to take something away through, not only legislative action, but certainly constitutional action. So again, this isn't, Democrats are for unions and Republicans aren't. I mean, it's not that cut and dry and simple. But, from my view and the principles that I advocate for and the people that I represent, to have that ability to organize, to be able to, have access to benefits and a strong wage, that not only, helps those individuals that are, organized, but it certainly raises the bar for, the rest of, the employers to be able to have competitive wages, competitive benefit packages, and that goes directly back into the economy. And those folks will have more disposable income to go to small businesses, to, patronize their local restaurants, and to be able to put a down payment on a house. That all goes back into the economy. So that's just my 2 cents.
And I mean, choice is the root of democracy. I mean, so to take away people's choice. And back to the point, I mean, it's a Shakespeare moment for me. A rose by any other name is still a rose and smells just as sweet. I mean, the word freedom, the freedom to do what? Mm-hmm. It is absolutely an illusion. and to put under the guise for right to work. We know that this will create the lowering of wages. I mean, we seem to have a race to the bottom in this state and in this nation, that somehow it's not okay for people to reap the fruits of their labor. We know that as labor, as union membership increased, the wages of all have increased. I mean, economists have talked about that. So in terms of people being able to live a good life, being able to have some disposable income, as the leader talked about, being able to inject that into the economy, being able to keep our small businesses strong, yet instead we got a bunch of people who are going to come to the State House today and under the guise of a right to work, really drive down wages and complicate things in this state. It is absolutely an illusion, and what they're doing today is going to fool no one. So I agree with the leader. It's going to be up to the side that is against this to really drive that point home to the voter and draw the similarities between this right to work movement and what just happened in this state on Tuesday, when over 61% of the voters in this state said that people should have the right to collectively bargain. It is a right. It is about our very democracy. And I don't think the other side absolutely gets that. Collective bargaining is democratic in its processes. It's democratic. So if this is about the democracy, then we really need to rethink our processes in this state. And the right to work, guys, is not going to fool anybody.
And let me echo what Senator Turner has said there. Again, this press conference today on creating a right to work state solidifies and reinforces what we all thought from the beginning with SB 5. That was the first leg, the first attempt to turn Ohio into a right to work state. And for them to come forth so soon after SB 5 has been defeated only proves that we were correct in saying this is part of the original agenda that this administration came in with.
Senator, considering that, are you surprised that they're moving forward after getting beaten by 22 points?
No, I am not surprised, because they want to try to continue with the enthusiasm of the people that they had working on their behalf prior to this, to build up their hope that they still have a chance to achieve what they thought they had achieved in SB 5. So before, the ink is dry, they want to come back again with the same idea. It's not going to fly.
Through the back door, I might add.
Senator, do you think this actually could help the president carry the state of Ohio, if that locked-in union support that we saw for repeal of SB 5? Everything would be at stake if there's a right to work battle. SB 5 was a chunk of collective bargaining. Right to work would basically gut the union movement that we know. Could that help Democratic candidates on the ballot in 2012?
Conceivably, but I think that you're also making gross generalizations about the electorate. I think there are a lot of people actually that supported, supported the repeal effort, so to speak, that are Republicans and probably would never vote for Barack Obama. So, just because there are, I think, people that believe in the sentiment behind collective bargaining, behind the labor movement, but at the same time also have other elements that motivate their ideology and their choice for elected officials. We're dealing with content and not individuals.
So you're saying those votes might not be there?
I'm saying that we can't necessarily base anything off of, we can't speculate on what the electorate wants and translate that. Now, I agree that this certainly, I think, looks good for momentum for the Democratic side. I think the question is, there were a lot of people that weren't just Democrats that went out and voted no on issue 2. The question is, how do Democrats continue to engage those independent and Republican voters on core issues like collective bargaining, like strengthening wages and protecting the middle class? How does the Democratic Party continue to engage not just the base, but everyone else out there? Because it's not just, what they say it's 375,000 people or something that would have been directly affected by Senate Bill 5 that are public employees, when, 2 million people voted? So it's not just the direct people. It's everybody. People that probably were not just union, but non-union, Democrats, Republicans, independents, people that didn't vote before. And I think, again, it's incumbent upon us to continue to try to engage those people on the issues that are obviously important to them, because the only way that anyone wins, Democrat or Republican, is by a coalition of their base and independents. And I mean, that's where the battle will be.
You must understand also, whereas SB 5 only affected public employees, a right to work statute will affect all employees. I'm from Toledo, the heart of UAW country, automobiles. That would affect them, a right to work state. Do you think those employees are going to stand still? Are they going to accept something like that? No way. So not only with public employees, but also employees from the big three, the private sector, all over. I think they will have a bigger battle on their hands
And
than they
hospitals.
did with SB 5.
Yeah, I mean, you know, healthcare workers and the like too.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I mean, of course, I want our president to win. So when you talk about momentum for Democrats, but hopefully all citizens, no matter if they're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, that the momentum is on the quality of life that we want our citizens to have in this state. Whether or not we're going to be a low-wage state or the type of state that races to the bottom, or whether or not we are going to be a state that allows people to work hard and to bring their money home so that they can support their families, live in decent communities, send their children to schools that prepare them for the 21st century, and have that disposable income that we need. I mean, economist Robert Reich, former labor secretary, talks about it all the time. 70% of our economy is a consumer economy. If people are not making the money that they need to consume, then we can't create the jobs that are necessary to keep us going, and then we don't get the tax base that we need to do all the great and wonderful things that government is designed to do. So we are all in this together, whether we're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, and I think the citizens, I know the citizens in the state of Ohio understood that, which is why they resoundingly rejected Issue 2, Senate Bill 5. This is about jobs, this is about the economy, and that's all this is about. And people are going to vote for their interests, and their interest is to make sure that people can live a viable life by having the types of jobs by which they can support their families. And to me, what is right is now turned wrong, and all of this is upside down here. I mean, when did it become the place that we live in a country that doesn't care about whether or not people can live a good life? These people work hard. We're not talking about slackers. We're talking about people who go to work every single day, and now all of a sudden it's a crime to pay them a decent wage so that they can live above, so that they can live a good life. Something is wrong with that. And something is wrong with this right to work movement.